Hello and welcome to another mini-sode of Dissonant Waves. My name is Dominic. Trix is here. And returning, because we're talking about something Green Day related. It's Corey.
What up?
Corey in the house.
It's a party every week, baby.
And following up our last episode of this side project of sorts where we talked about the lookout. The lookout? What is it? The long shots.
Jesus long Christ. Shot. I guess it was a long shot that would ever fucking remember.
Sorry, I also confuse them with the cover-ups. A similar, related band, but not the same. But this time, we're doing Pinhead Gunpowder, the actual proper Green Day side project of sorts for Billie Joe Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
We did 4 of their albums. Goodbye, Ellston Avenue, which is their first album proper. Jump Salty and Compulsive Disclosure, which are two congregate what's the word I'm looking
compilations.
For? Compilations. I'm already failing on words tonight. Jesus Christ. And the new one that just came out, Unt.
Do you think they're going to release an album in a couple years that's just the letter C?
The special edition that they'll release with the B-sides will be C. With Unt afterward.
Yeah,
it's Carolina's ultimate Netflix tweet.
Yes. So, yes, dating all the way back to 1991.
This was before I was born.
Yes, me too.
And I as well.
This was a separate band that was founded by other people. Aaron Comet Bus. It had its own strifes and struggles. There were other people. It split into 2. And eventually, Aaron Comet Bus moved to Berkeley in East Bay area. And eventually, Billie Joe Armstrong came along in the second incarnation. And that's when they started releasing music. Jump Salty is a compilation of their first couple EPs, Trundle in Spring and Fiza? I don't know. And then Compulsive Disclosure is a compilation of Dillinger 4 and Pinhead Gunpowder. They're split, their self-titled EP, 8 chords and 328 words, all from the year 2000. And then the other 2 albums are in the middle of that, and then the newest one is just way after everything. They're having a Netflix rebirth, or not a Netflix rebirth, a network rebirth.
Yes.
So many years later, during an election year, Billie Joe Armstrong says, I need to make more music that's not Green Day and have it be good.
Yeah.
I need a third solid gold pool.
I didn't even think about it being an
election year.
I mean, obviously it's also a political album. That is very apparent.
Yes.
But I did not think about it being another election year Green Day album. Interesting, because if you look at it, wait a second, what the fuck? You got this one. There's obviously Money Money 2020 Part 2. We told you so. At Revolution Radio's 2016, am I remembering correctly?
2015.
Is it 2015? Shit, all right. Well, my own point does not stand.
No, 2016, you're right.
Yeah, okay, sweet. And then Uno, Dos, and Tre, unfortunately, are 2012. There were hard times.
Yes.
But then 2008 is 21st Century Breakdown.
2009 for that one.
Is American Idiot.
2009 was 21st
Oh, you're right, it's 2009.
Stop, Drop, and Roll was 2008.
Right. What was it?
Stop, Drop, and Roll.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. Look at that. It's not really a political album, I guess, but...
American Idiot, 04. Warning, 2000. Before that, it doesn't really count as much, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing else super lines up.
Well, 96... Is Insomniac 96? That's a pretty angry album.
But it's 95.
Okay, well...
So, other than 21st Century Breakdown, they've pretty much been releasing in election years for main Green Day albums.
Yes.
And even 21st Century Breakdown is could be partially in reaction to that whole political climate.
I mean, it is.
I mean, it is, obviously.
Obviously.
But I mean, about the election specifically, it could be.
But I mean, in a way, they decided to wait until after, so maybe they had more inspiration from the election itself.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
But here instead, like last time, when they did the network after their big album launch in the beginning of the year for Green Day, they've done it this time with Pinhead Gunpowder.
True.
Yeah, which that's a repeat of what they did in 2020 with, no, Father of All was 2019.
No, it's 2020.
It's January.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is.
Early February.
January 2020.
Early February. It's pre-pandemic.
Yes, that's that is a
That's what.
key
That's
part
why it
of
doesn't
it.
feel like 2020.
It is key that it's pre-pandemic because that's why it feels the way that it feels compared to what the network put out.
Yeah.
It feels like if I listen to this, my whole world will change, probably for the worse.
But yes, so I somehow we are still on this idea that Green Day can't release actual political music anymore, even though that's literally why they have their second coming.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
It's insane.
It is.
it must be some kind of weird like a self blockage, but also probably like a record company blockage, right? Right?
I think I said this before, but Green Day's
Yeah,
got to have some kind of power here.
Yeah, you did. I was going to bring that up. I think that they do have the power to release a political album, but I feel like they're big enough that they don't want to alienate
Even though
the. Yeah, but you got to remember there was I forget exactly who it was, but there was that conservative Speaker of the House or whatever that was like Rage Against the Machine is my favorite band, and then Tom Morello put out an entire fucking article where he's like, no, you're the machine.
Paul Ryan. Yeah. He was
Paul
Speaker
Ryan,
of
you're
the House.
right.
so the other thing I want to talk about before we really get into it is that's the update of the conspiracy now with Chris Dugan, right?
Yes.
We previously talked about the producers of these albums and how Father of All was produced by Green Day, of course, but then Chris Dugan and Butch Vig, who were new or newer as producers to the Green Day side of things.
Well, didn't Butch Vig produce 21st?
I was gonna say Butch Vig sounds like is a familiar name.
He's
even
the
as a
Nirvana. Nevermind.
Oh yes, of course.
Butch Vig did not produce 21st Century.
He produced something
Father of All.
prior.
Was
it really just Father of All?
I'm pretty sure. I mean,
I
if you
thought I remember an
if you want to go in
earlier
09, he did produce Ratitude.
album.
But yeah, he's a huge Weezer producer for a lot of sountracks.
Butch Vig did produce 21st Century Breakdown.
Fuck
Oh,
yeah,
did
I
he?
knew I was
Fuck.
right.
It's just not listed on his Wikipedia page. I like that.
I had to literally Google
he did
Butch Vig
Siamese
Green Day.
Dream too. Fuck shit.
So okay. So that then leads us to the part where we said, well, this Chris Dugan guy must be the reason, or one of the reasons why Father of All is so weird, because he's been an audio engineer forever, but what does he know about producing? He just produces for the Swingin' Utters, which is another punk band from California.
Yes.
But then, this time around, it's like, oh, he produced Unt by himself, apparently.
Yeah.
He's the sole credit.
Interesting.
But then it's like, oh, he's also actually a member of the network. He's a member of the cover-ups. He is well in the Green Day fold.
Oh. Like, he's like an original member of the network?
Oh shit, guys. I just Googled him, Wrinkle. He's also a cinematographer.
Who?
Chris Dugan.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
Oh, he did the video for East Jesus Nowhere, and he also made Awesome as Fuck.
Yeah.
He's credited on Ordinary World as for what? Oh, just additional crew. I don't know what that means.
He probably did stuff with the production crew.
Yes. And interestingly, we've also covered another album he mixed with Weezer's Seasons. He did Autumn.
Of course. So, safe to say that maybe Chris Dugan wasn't the reason, or at least solely the reason, why Father of All was so weird. It must have been a combination of things that's way too hard to solely place the blame on any specific person.
Yeah.
Though he is very much Z, the keyboardist, apparently.
Interesting.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah.
So, before we totally dive into Unt, let's go back a little bit. We have the Jump Salty stuff, which is the beginning of their career. Compulsive Disclosure, which is after Goodbye Ellston Avenue, which is their only album up until now, and then this thing. Where does anyone want to start with the early stuff?
Why don't we just start at the beginning with Jump Salty?
Jump Salty.
I listened to them.
The earliest stuff, there's interesting. Hold on. Sorry, I'm looking at something. But yeah, it's. Hold on. I need to Google something now.
While he Googles that, I'm also going to point out it's interesting that Z was also the fucking keyboard player back in 2003, 2005.
That's what I was wondering. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So it's definitely not him.
Ah, okay. Here we go. So, one of the original members of Pinhead Gunpowder left the band early on. Sarah Kirsch. She is listed on Jump Salty as a singer. She came out as trans later in life. So I was looking at the credits and I'm like, oh, some of it uses her dead name, some of it uses her current name. Like, what's up with that? That's what I had to Google to make sure. So, Jump Salty features both Sarah and Billie Joe Armstrong on vocals, and is, I guess, the beginning of what would become, I guess I would say that their sound is kind of like a Green Day, but as if they just kept being punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, much more closer to like a this I kept thinking sounded way more like Kerplunk, even like earlier than, Dookie, and it sounds way more. Sorry, I should not have hit my pen again. Excuse me. But I think you're totally dead on. It's like they didn't get signed to a major label.
Yeah.
And apparently it was thought for a long time that some of the early members left because Green Day got signed to a major label, and that was like a protest.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh.
Apparently it's not true, or at least they say it's not.
Okay.
But
I mean, that sounds like a thing that like some punks would do, but it sounds shitty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also, I think, part of why Jump Salty feels different and interesting, because it is not just Billie Joe Armstrong doing it.
Yes.
Sarah Kirsch is like more of the vocalist than Billie Joe is.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting how that changes later on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at because like some of it's very interesting because it's like some of the is like early stuff that like John Quitner is the other person who was early on in this band and then left very early on. So like his stuff is also like more credited to him. There's Big Yellow Taxi, which is a Joni Mitchell cover, and so it feels more pure, I think, because there's other people doing stuff and it's not just a Green Day project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go forward in time a little bit. You look at something like Compulsive Disclosure, which came after the album, but still. And this is the point, of course, where it's like, okay, there's Armstrong, there's Jason White. This is Jason White's like band too, at this point.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of the music and stuff now, and so it sounds a lot closer to that Green Day sound. Of course, New Blood on Compulsive Disclosure is credited to Wilhelm Fink, so it's a weird network connection.
Interesting.
Theoretically, before the network out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, because there's also that song, "The Ballad of Wilhelm Fink." What album is that on? Ballad of Wilhelm Fink. Oh, it's just a song they put on an album called "Short Songs for Short People."
Yes.
Yeah, what is that from?
That's actually I've actually been meaning to cover that on just podcast proper because it's 100 different like 30-second punk songs, I want to say.
Well, that explains why I couldn't think of what fucking album it was on.
But it came out in the 90s, right?
Yeah. I'm pulling it up
99.
right now.
99. The only reason I even know about it is because Silverstein does a cover of it.
And so
this is not on streaming.
So
there's an album called Silly Short Songs for Silly Short People by a band called Rock Daddy Rock.
So they're trying to, get credit for that album, even though it's not on streaming, of course.
Yes.
So from that's actually a secret, like, uber obscure origin to a lot of this shit.
Yeah.
But that's interesting as well.
Yes.
In between these two compilations, you have Goodbye Ellston Avenue, which you see some more covers. There's a Phil Ox cover, Song of My Returning. There is a cover from the Big Foist, Work for Food. And they're not, I would say they're more political now with Unt, but covering stuff by Phil Ox, like Phil Ox is known as like a songwriter, political activist, like very much in that "This land is your land," whoever fucking sang that song kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the fuck's that guy
The Swingin' Utters is on Short Songs for Short People.
It's Woody Guthrie. That's what I was looking for. So Jump Salty.
Yes.
How are we feeling about it?
It's good.
I liked, well, so Future Daydream I wasn't super into, so I heard that song and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be into this. But I thought Freedom Is, I was like, oh, that like brought me right back in. I was like, this is actually, lyrically, there's a lot going on here that's interesting. And
Yes.
it's it's punk, so it's generic. But what they do is, it's fun. But a lot of the songs, especially the political ones, I just wish Green Day would do. Like I'm just sitting here this whole time, like I wish Green Day sounded a little bit more like this.
Well, a lot of the lyrics are written by, like I was saying the name before, Aaron Comet Bus, who was known for making the
Yeah.
Comet Bus zine series,
Yeah.
Yes.
well known in the punk scene.
At some point, I should for a mini-sode, I should do a bunch of research on the zines and see what old school zines that have been archived that Green Day appears in or something. I could see that could be fun.
That would be really interesting. And so I think a lot of that more political commentary, especially early on, is probably because of that.
Yeah.
And so, like, maybe that was more of the outlet for them to be like, okay, this is Pinhead Gunpowder, we're going to be more political, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then
Yeah, that does make sense.
Especially because this was probably around the time then that we're getting, like, Kerplunk and stuff. Like, Trundle and Spring, the original EP, is 91. Liza is also 92 then. And by then we had to have had, like, beginning of Green Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was listening to this and I was looking at, because it says on Apple Music is that it was released in 1994.
Yeah, that's when
So
the
I'm like, this is the same. Yeah, right. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I listened to.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any research on the release or anything, so I didn't realize. And so I'm looking at it and 1994. His voice is not nearly as refined as it would be just the same year. I don't know how much earlier in the year it was released, but just the gap in time makes a lot of sense for how much better his voice sounds on Dookie beyond just how much better mixed and mastered it is.
Yeah. And then we have Goodbye Ellston Avenue, which this seems to be kind of like the moment where the band comes together. Jason White writes a song or two, Bill Schneider writes a song or two. But I was kind of not really feeling this album as much.
Yeah.
This one feels a little more basic by the numbers. There's some that's interesting, but there's nothing like, oh, that's a really interesting message, at least to me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's a cover or two in there. And there's a song called I Walk Alone, which I thought was very interesting, considering Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah. Which speaking of that, when we get to there was a cheeky reference to Jesus of Suburbia.
Yep, I caught that as well. I made a note of it. I as soon as the album started, I really liked Life During Wartime, and I was like, I think I like this song better than any song on Jump Salty. But as I kept going, I didn't really like the next few tracks. Excuse me.
I was disappointed it wasn't a Talking Heads cover.
Yeah, that's because the last album had covers on it, so I was thinking, yeah, maybe these are some covers. And then I get to Song of My Returning.
Yeah.
And I'm not familiar with the song. Oh, jeez. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, man, this is the best song yet. This song sounds awesome. And then I'm looking at the credits like, oh, never mind. They didn't write it. And then the rest of the album I didn't really care for. Punk's generic, but it's, to a point.
It's generic, but there are some albums and songs that stand out more than others.
For sure.
And I don't know if it's always because of the passion or like the pattern you're doing on the guitar, or just because you're coming up with something different or new or kind of that just sounds interesting.
Well, I think this might explain even possibly where we are. Well, I don't know, because Unt is so much better than what Green Day has put out recently. But this is a side thing. So he's doing this for fun. Like Green Day's where he makes money.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to do this.
Sure.
This is the music he actually likes. I mean, I would think at least.
Mm-hmm.
But even on Goodbye Ellston Avenue, you have this thing where it's not Billy Joe singing all the vocals. Like Jason White has several credits on this. Bill Schneider does a
Sure.
couple.
True.
Yes.
And so it feels more even and equal, where Green Day is very much kind of the BJA show.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
Like the others are there, they're doing their thing, but they don't share vocals generally.
Except for one time an album, Trey gets to sing one verse.
And in the network,
Yeah.
Not in a
they
long
switch
time.
around.
Yes.
This definitely would have come across to me as like one of those bands that's really good with for EPs because they can just throw together some songs and like just do the best. But then the album just kind of falls short because it's like, oh, we're putting out an album. We got to figure out the 13 songs. What the fuck are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then before we get like Unt kind of changes that idea. But then we get Compulsive Disclosure, which is much shorter and a compilation of a bunch of different
Very
stuff.
short.
Yes.
11 songs, but 16 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought this was, again, more interesting, kind of going back on the EP idea, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
there's a song about landlords. Always gotta love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I did think that was fun. I literally wrote in my notes, "Landlords is fun."
Yeah.
A song about going out with Crazy Horse's girlfriend. I don't get, but sure.
I liked Buffalo as kind of a political song.
I don't even know what the lyrics to
Oh yeah,
Buffalo are
yeah, I
about.
did too.
It's basically about how Buffalo used to roam the country and now they live in zoos.
Oh, that
And
makes sense.
humans use all that other space. When I saw the track title, I thought it was going to be about Buffalo, New York, and I thought I was going to have to make a joke about how they've never actually been to Buffalo, New York, if it was praising Buffalo, New York.
Wow.
I was really hoping that "At Your Funeral" was a Saves the Day cover. It was not.
Yeah.
Letter from an Old Friend was kind of catchy. Something about a tiny boy.
Oh yeah, it made me think of "The Night Man Cometh."
It seemed to be a little bit about fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Which, this was early on and when Billy Joe was having kids, so it kind of makes sense.
So he
Yeah.
can still sing about his son because he's not canceled yet.
That would be correct.
Well, his other son is doing some cool shit.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. 50%'s not bad.
Yeah, you always have one bad apple.
If you bat 500 in your career, you're first round Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't really have any covers. It's just kind of a bunch of different stuff. It doesn't really feel like it's like a compilation. It does in the sense that there's no like reason to release it otherwise. It's just like 15 minutes. But
Yeah.
it doesn't feel out of place. Nothing feels super out of sync with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I just think the production value on it's just way higher.
Yeah.
It just sounds so much better than the previous release.
And so, this is around Warning. And I think this is more interesting than Warning. In a way.
I know you don't like Warning, but I kind of love Warning.
Or at the very least, then as a counterpoint to Warning.
It's interesting to look at the juxtaposition of them as releases that are basically unrelated but share personnel.
Yes.
And like I said, I kind of get the feeling that a lot of these people are just friends and they just do stuff, and who knows if they're all credited on everything they do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like it seems like they just kind of got like a production posse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not everything's in place by 2000, but Jason White's around.
Yeah.
Like the fourth member of Quattro. We just like, oh yeah, it's cool that he's finally a member of the band, but no, he's here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would say cutting off Unt for a second. If this was all that Pinhead Gunpowder was, it'd be kind of like, oh, interesting, kind of a side look at what Green Day could have been. Like they were more political. It was more of an equal sharing of songwriting and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get Unt.
Sure do.
And Unt is better.
Yeah.
It's modern.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. I was so nervous that I was going to be like the poser that's like, this. They got better as they got older.
No, they definitely got better.
Sick. Okay, cool.
Like everyone's
I
still
mean,
here, or at least the people that stuck around. You know, Jason White, BJA, Bill Schneider, Aaron Comet Bus.
Yeah.
Comet Bus isn't
I
doing
mean,
the writing anymore, but
I noticed that. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I was surprised to hear his name when you just said it because I saw his name was no longer in any of the song credits.
he's
Hmm.
just the drummer now. But he also
That is
gives a
interesting.
quote in the Wikipedia page talking about like the new album and like what they were doing.
Okay.
All right.
It kind of sounds like they were doing stuff here and there, but then because of the pandemic, they kind of eventually got together again and did stuff when they could.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm glad they did it because
Yeah.
it's what I wish Green Day sounded like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really funny because like with the network, we got this whole side project that's like, oh, it's kind of Green Day, but it's way different because they're assuming personas, and it's a whole funny thing. Ha ha ha! 2020,
Hmm.
and then this is just like,
Hmm.
no, this is what Green Day could be.
This is literally what Green Day could be
Yeah.
if they just like wrote songs that sounded like this.
And considering that Armstrong, Billie Joe wrote half of these, if not most of these, how many are from the Green Day catalog secretly?
Oh, I don't know.
Could any of these be cut songs from Uno Dos Tres?
I don't know if they're still doing it this late in the game, but it could be.
You never know.
Some of them feel like they're kind of weird relations to American Idiot and things like Ola Canada feels like
Hmm.
a distinct like if Father of All was supposed to be about anything, it should have been about how the American dream has been corrupted and like all this racism against people of color and things like that. Like that's I feel
Yeah.
like what they were trying to do with like the cover being like the reskin of the American Idiot cover and everything, but it's like a darker skin tone and everything. Like if they were trying to do messaging, I feel like that would have been the message to make. And
Hmm.
a song like Ola Canada would have made more sense had that been the album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. I hadn't thought about it like
Interesting.
that, but you're totally right.
Yeah.
And I think Ola Canada maybe is my favorite song on the album.
Mine too, probably.
It's
I
that or Song for Myself. It's just,
that's
uh,
another cover.
is it
Yeah.
really? Fuck me.
Harry Chapin, another folk singer songwriter guy.
Motherfucker. All right, then Ola Canada, I guess, is my favorite song on the album.
I really like the first two.
I did immediately think this was going to be a better album when I started it.
Like it shares some of the
Hmm.
Green Day sound and the DNA, but like just listening to it lyrically, it's just clearly there's something going on. They're actually singing about something. They're actually having a statement. God damn it!
We're going nowhere
Yeah.
waiting for saviors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does that say anything?
It's the fucking third line in the first song.
Or is it literally DJA being like, I'm literally waiting for this album to be done, so here I am writing something else.
Hmm.
I mean, it also has a context within the rest of it that I don't think that's probably what it means. But it is interesting that he just dropped the saviors thing because there's lots of words, and that sure is one of them.
Sure. But
Yeah.
it's a song about, taking action and doing something versus not
Right.
battling
Hmm.
apathy, battling, just being on your phone and doing nothing. Which is which, that's a very Gen X statement at this point. Put the phone down and do something. But
I did think what's oh, never mind. The song I was thinking of was from Song for Myself, which is a older song than I realized.
I think there's that verse about sitting in that diner that's old and dusty, nursing his coffee for hours, kind of like talking about everyone takes a fucking picture of it, but like actually go in there, like buy something if you like it,
Yeah.
Hmm.
support it,
Hmm.
which is a very punk DIY attitude.
Yeah, and it's Green Day could sound like this.
Yeah.
Just bring back Jason White. Like
I wonder if Billy Joe knows.
imagine a different world for a second where Uno, Dos, and Trey were actually them trying to spin Pinhead Gunpowder back into Green Day.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
wouldn't that make sense for why Jason White's kind of there after after Pinhead Gunpowder kind of dissolves and is not around anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But alas, that is at least officially not the reason why he's there. They make it just like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to have somebody else, but who knows?
Yeah. It is also worth mentioning, I'm on the Wikipedia page now for just everything, looking through it. And Comet Bus was a roadie for Green Day for a long time, it seems, in the 2000s. And Schneider was their guitar tech.
I'm sure.
So it really is just a family.
Yeah. So this kind of the way this kind of has been interpreted to me now is like, oh, these are just like old friends getting back together and like jamming again.
And Bill Schneider is also in the cover-ups.
Yeah.
Which maybe the cover-ups is the secret, like, everyone's collaborating together band.
Yeah.
But they've not put out like an album or anything because they're just a covers band.
Mm-hmm.
Because Billy Joe, Mike Dirnt, Jason White, Bill Schneider, Greg Schneider, and Chris Dugan are all in that fucking band.
Yeah.
And they had to kick out Dan Schneider.
Got a little too weird about feet.
Which, if you look at it, the Foxborough Hot Tubs is kind of a similar thing, right?
Yeah.
Because Foxborough Hot Tubs was Green Day plus Jason White and Jason Freese, who is not super around anymore in the Green Day scene, but
they don't write a whole lot of songs with like saxophones anymore.
No.
That's fair. But again, seeing Uno, Dos, and Tres maybe also kind of a take on like, well, Foxborough Hot Tubs was interesting, so let's keep that energy going too. And the network was cool, and we had different names there, so let's do different names for the Foxborough Hot Tubs.
Yeah.
They are different names. The Foxborough Hot Tubs are alter egos.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think is he Wilhelm Fink? Is he the Reverend Wilhelm Fink?
No,
Reverend
he's
Twitch.
Reverend something. Yeah, Strychnine Twitch.
Oh, I knew it was something crazy. Reverend, I thought.
Michelangelo, the Professor, and Frosco Lee. And then Jason Freese is just...
And Jason Freese. That's hilarious. That's so fucking funny.
He's too good. He doesn't deserve a fake name. He should know who he is, goddammit. So, this is just a weird family of people that are just doing music and doing projects together here and there. But somehow the Green Day is like the older brother that has to perform and has to be academically smart and get an A in all the papers. And then it's like it's the younger kids that can get away with like getting out at night and like getting up to no good and starting some hood rat shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the cover-ups is like this weird other thing that they all do together in secret. Like they're like the Scooby and the gang, the Mystery Machine kids, just going around solving mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch that show.
Yeah.
I'm making a lot of analogies, right? But it's this is putting a lot of things into perspective, I think, based on, again, confirming our idea that for some reason Green Day has to sound a specific way to appeal to the mainstream audience, even though they did make their popularity on not doing that, and
like,
everything else they do is to not.
In
do
2004, like when it was actually kind of risky to take a political stance.
And
I mean, it is not as
it was
not as common as it was, I should say.
They could have broken up. The warning would have been like we kind of petered out kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been tragic, but they could have.
At that time, the network was just like this weird other thing they were doing.
Imagine if Money Money 2020 had been a massive commercial success.
We would not have Green Day.
Yeah.
We would not be
Probably
doing this.
Or they would have to play 2 sets.
We wouldn't get 21st Century Breakdown, I bet.
Oh, man. What a terrible world that would be.
Or would the songs that would be in that be new wave versions for the network?
They'd all be sang by Mike Dirnt.
That's fine.
Yeah, but 21st Century Breakdown is such a lovely performance by Billy Joe. Vocally.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Imagine Mike Dirnt on 21 Guns.
Mike Dirnt.
Yeah, no.
I'm imagining Mike Dirnt doing We Are the Waiting.
I find it interesting, just sort of on topic but off topic at the same time, that Foxborough Hot Tubs in the network, he chose different painters as his alter ego.
Oh my god, that's so Van Gogh and Michelangelo. That's so fucking
Yeah.
funny.
So if they do a third one, he's gonna be Donatello, right?
I hope
No,
so.
Van Gogh wasn't a turtle.
But that's the twist. That way they can't be like copyright
You never
struck.
see it coming.
I don't think you could be copyright struck for calling yourself 4 different medieval painter or Renaissance painter names.
Okay, so fair enough. So he'll be Rembrandt next time instead.
It'll be Georgia
Yeah,
O'Keeffe.
that would
He'll be Georgia O'Keeffe. Hell yeah.
just O'Keefe, but spelled like Keif. I don't fucking know.
No, wait. Georgia O'Keeffe?
That's a very Green Day side project name to have.
It is.
Ooh.
Also just like another diversion. I'm on the Frustrators Wikipedia page, which is Dirnt's side project,
Mhm.
and one of the band members is from a band called Violent Anal Death.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm gonna regret plugging this into my YouTube Music.
I mean, the Frustrators have a few albums out there that we could do at some point. That sounds kind of interesting. Anyway, so beyond the title track, they go into DB&I, difficult but not impossible,
Mm-hmm.
which cites a lot of different things that are hard, but also talking about people in the everyday. And it's like, okay, it's cool to say DB&I, difficult but not impossible. Like that's the goal, apparently.
Did I cut out, or are we just having a weird silence?
A weird silence.
Weird
Gotcha.
silence.
Two fools no one can bear, and two no one can understand. They're made for each other, and that's why we formed the band. We know how it looks. We're in a leaky boat under the bridge. It's DB&I, we hope. Is that a description of Pinhead Gunpowder?
I mean, it must be, right?
Yeah.
See, I would argue, though, that it's not a leaky boat, because they have Green Day money.
Yeah.
So, like, they can kind of do whatever. Kat, you have something to say? No? You're done now?
I liked the first album better.
I thought...
Ladies and gentlemen, Contrarian Cat.
Manny, meow. Say something now.
Manny, say something.
Meow.
I'm outside, or you'd probably hear my cat screaming.
Anyway, then Scum of the Earth is about just crust punk people.
Oh, I've met a couple crust punks. I should look in these lyrics.
Like, it seems to partially be that, partially be about maybe homeless people.
I think this is about homeless people.
I'm looking at the lyrics now, but my first thought was crust punk.
Haven't bathed in days. Proof is on my face, but we're the wretched ones, the disconnected vagabonds, and we've been double-crossed. There is no love lost, but we're coming up roses from the scum of the earth.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
I think this is just someone with poor hygiene.
That could be, but seeing how the rest of the album is, it's probably a little bit more about an ode to people that are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
That's more interesting than saying it's about crust punk people. Dominic, why would you ever say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, going beyond this, Hola Canada, of course, which is, mixing Spanish, talking about Canada, anything but the U.S. I'm an expat runaway, escaping from the USA, and I've run out of places left to go.
Mm-hmm.
I pledge my love to the maple leaf, to the land of make-believe. So, fuck it, we're going to Canada. Adios, America.
And the land of make-believe being the Jesus of Suburbia reference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Land of make-believe that don't believe in me.
Corey, I feel like you do really well just doing a show where you're just reading Green Day lines dramatically.
What are you, my Facebook statuses from 2010?
That would be the name of the show.
It's just My Chemical Romance quotes I read from a book.
I feel like for the full effect, you need those fucking reader glasses that are just frames on the bottom.
It's your Netflix special.
You're wearing like maybe a cardigan or maybe just a turtleneck. I don't know. Something sweatery, chinos, beat up sneakers though. Like a beat up pair of Converse.
My Facebook status is just, you know what they do to guys like us in prison. Meanwhile, it's me that's posting it.
I'm reading Here Goes the Neighborhood now, which partially seems to be a like childhood romance thing, and then goes into neurosis so diverse, new diagnosis every day, crisis round each corner, total meltdowns on display. Interesting.
Let's see here. Yeah.
I listened to this a couple times. I could not. I mean, like I know what all these words mean, but I don't know what he. It must just went over my head. I guess I couldn't figure out what he was saying with all of it.
You learned to read and ride a bike and protest by the lake. So every fall you stood so tall. Como se dice brave?
Yes, those are the lyrics.
Yes.
I'm trying.
Neurotypical, twice exceptional. Miles and miles to see the smile on your face. The look ahead to see the end is not so far away. Interesting.
So, okay. So it's like the first part is about looking back, rivals on arrival, best friends, arch enemies, down to our sleeping lives, electric line awake. So, like, a person's coming in, changing everything, fucking things up, but it's like told in such a way where they're on equal footing. And then once was typical, twice exceptional. Which to me kind of seems like a intimate thing, but maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into this neurosis so diverse. You learn.
I think twice exceptional means something.
Does it? Does it mean something?
I don't know. But like I've heard it before, but I don't know what it actually means.
Is this about somebody that is different and like is gifted in some way, and then it's like they kind of just crashed into this person's life as a kid and then just kind of stuck around and they were kind of in a relationship maybe, or like they care each other about each other
maybe?
It's mysterious in an interesting way instead of being generic, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
It also has a really hooky chorus, so that's cool too.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I like about Unt specifically is that it has the Green Day DNA, but it feels like they're doing not Green Day guitar licks again.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't going, oh, that sounds like something from 21st Century. That sounds like something from American Idiot. I wasn't doing that. So,
Yeah.
maybe they're slowly evolving their sound to sound new but catchy again. I don't know.
Perhaps.
And in 2028, when they release a new album, we will feel like real dummies when it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Just like I have.
But we got to hold on to those 4 years of hope.
I did like
That it's going to be
Saviors.
We did
actually
like Saviors.
secretly the greatest thing ever.
And we also liked Revolution Radio.
Yes. Revolution Radio grew on me with time.
Yeah.
I'm used to being let down, is all.
But as we're learning, if we follow the money long enough, there is something to not be let down by, even if we're let down by an initial thing. In 2028, they'll revive something else. They'll revive Foxborough hot tubs.
In 2028, politically, we're all going to be it's going to be so much better.
I mean, it'll be
Everything's
the 20th
gonna be
anniversary.
so great.
God, I
Stop
fucking
All
rock
going
and
to
hope
still be
so.
alive.
At the
Everything's
very least, I
better.
hope we get some Dreamcast recommendations.
Oh, God. It's Dreamcast 2 2028?
Oh.
I'm thinking yes.
Honestly, I feel like Sega would print money if they just made new Dreamcasts in general and like maybe put a chip on it so that you could just fucking so that like they had a bunch of built-in games and then you could just buy more or something. I don't fucking know. I feel like they
Yeah.
could print money with
Like
that.
an NES Classic.
Yeah.
They just released like a little Android device that has like your 10 most famous games on it.
Oh, God, a Dreamcast with Shenmue 1 and 2, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2,
Shadow the
Channel.
Hedgehog.
Space Channel 5 1 and 2, Res.
Typing of the Dead. I'm gonna throw a
Typing
vote
of the
in
Dead,
for.
absolutely.
I wish I knew more about terrible Dreamcast game.
You're saying terrible. Crazy
Power
Taxi.
Stone 2.
Crazy
Oh, I
Taxi
know. I
would have
want
to
to
be in there.
ironically recommend remasters, but I don't know any terrible Dreamcast games.
Jet Grind Radio would have to be in there.
Oh, fuck yeah, Jet Grind Radio.
God. Samba de Amigo. Oh my god.
You gotta have a fishing game in there, I feel.
Sega Bass Fishing.
Yeah.
It's like you can get like little recreations of the controllers. Oh, they'll have Seaman in it with a microphone.
Oh, fuck yeah.
We could do Blue Stinger.
Oh, Corey, you don't understand how much
Oh,
I love
hell
Blue
yeah.
Stinger. Actually,
Do you know what I searched to find Blue Stinger?
list of Dreamcast games.
Just terrible Dreamcast games.
Blue Stinger is not a terrible Dreamcast game. Blue Stinger is an amazing Dreamcast game, and its successor, Illbleed. I have written an article about these games.
Interesting.
Yes, he
Do you know
has.
what the two results over from Blue Stinger is?
Illbleed,
It sure is.
phenomenal games. When I'm not 100% not kidding.
I believe you.
If
I don't believe it.
if that creator was alive today, his games would be a cult classic.
Shenmue is also on here.
Shenmue is amazing, also.
I'm just scrolling through a list of Dreamcast games, and I feel like Bust a Move 4.
How about Sonic
Just-
Shuffle? Is that one terrible?
Yes,
That
their-
one is terrible.
That's their Mario Party Sonic game.
That is just not good.
Can't imagine.
Corey, what do you know about the Dreamcast?
That it played games.
And you just hear with a bunch of game nerds that know way more.
I defer to Domino because he knows more about the Dreamcast than I do. I just know of the Dreamcast and the games. I don't think I've actually played a Dreamcast game outside of like Jet Set Radio.
Oh, they're so fucking good.
One of these days, I'm gonna buy a Dreamcast and just burn a bunch of discs.
You should. It was a cool console that lasted for like 3 years, and there's a lot of crap on it, but the games that were made for it were amazing. Nothing else quite had the same style, the same ethos. A lot of the games were weird and like revolutionary in weird ways. Very 2000s Y2K.
What's the gimmick of the Dreamcast?
It was the first one to go like online for like significant multiplayer stuff. It was like before Xbox Live. That's what people were doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you had ads from like Fred Durst being like, "Well, if you're losing, it's probably because of me." Get on SegaNet.
Keep on rolling.
Also, the VMU, the memory card plugged in the controller and had like a little screen. You could see like really simple graphics on.
And they had like a very basic games on some of them.
You could like select your plays in like NFL games.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
But it was like really revolutionary for the time. But it played like enhanced CDs. It didn't play DVDs. So the PS2 like killed it from the game.
Yeah, that'll get good.
So it was just one of those things where it was cool, but just not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So it died in like 01 and like lasted another year into 02 before they completely cut it off. And now it just has like a bunch of like homebrew for it.
It did almost get an official Half-Life port at one point too.
Wild.
It also had a its own campaign, which I believe became Blue Shift.
Yes.
So it's got for those of my Borderlands fans, the Greaseball Randy attached. That was Gearbox.
Randy
I believe.
Pitchford, of course. Yes. Gearbox. Goddamn.
Oh, from the film.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Black.
Yes.
That movie sucked so much ass, and I don't want to get into it because I fucking hate that movie because I'm a huge fan of the Borderlands games.
I heard it was very faithful.
One game that has to be included on the Dreamcast Mini is a game called Sega Gaga, which they put out, which was basically you control Sega as an underdog video game company.
Yeah, I've heard of
fighting
that
against
one.
The big Dogma game company that controls most of the market.
What's this game called?
Sega Gaga.
Yeah.
It was only released in Japan.
Bastards.
But it's always been fascinating to me, especially because it's very much about Sega itself.
Huh.
hmm
It's very interesting.
It's the first image I get when I search it is an RPG screen
Yes.
where Samba de Amigo is the fucking enemy.
Yep.
Sick.
And
Which
then,
why haven't they put Samba de Amigo in the ball yet? Put Samba de Amigo in Monkey Ball.
that would be great, actually. I'm surprised they haven't done it.
Put him in the ball.
You think with the Wii game they would have done that back then, but
Or like even with the new Switch, where you got the E-Boy makeover. I didn't know E-Boy Samba de Amigo would cause such a silence.
I'm just shocked you said it out loud, and then I was even more shocked you said it again.
Well, Corey, I hope we've done a great job doing a crash course into what the Dreamcast is.
Yes.
I am now so much more or less interested, depending on whether what you said was good or bad.
I will say their series Space Channel 5, which was like a rhythm game that was like a space reporter dressed in like 60s go-go gear,
Yeah.
dancing with aliens to get them to leave people alone. Michael Jackson's also just in it.
Yeah.
I was thinking it sounded pretty gay, and then you said Michael Jackson was in it.
And then and in the sequel, you play as Michael Jackson a lot more.
I bet you do.
The late 90s and early 2000s were a wild, wild time.
Yeah.
They sure were. I wish I was there.
Which Samba de Amigo also has to go on the mini. Just
Yes.
have to mention that.
Give us fake maracas to shake as well.
Yes. Don't be cowards.
Oh, anything else you want to say about Pinhead Gunpowder or Unt or anything?
I like it. Maybe we'll see more Pinhead Gunpowder in the future. I would like to see that, but
I mean,
something tells me with their track record of side projects, we're probably not going to see it for another 20 years.
the network was around for a couple years recently, and then it went away.
Yes. But we only got one network album.
Tragically.
Tragically.
And they put a
I
fucking
will
cover on that
still
album.
always put out hope for a second network album, or a third network album, I should say.
But, you know, they're going to revive Foxborough Hot Tubs this time instead.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
we'll take it.
Or maybe they'll just make a Green Day album that is just that. But we love the dream.
Oh my
We
god,
love
it's American Idiot 2 with a steel chair.
American Idiot 3.
Oh shit. The Search for American Idiot 2.
I mean, Father of All
is American Idiot too.
Technically, I suppose so. It's at least a spin-off.
It is definitely a follow-up of some sorts.
Yes.
They're certainly saying something.
And I mean, technically, if you want to include like the musical in the lore, 21st Century Breakdown it is technically American Idiot 2 as well.
I suppose so, yeah.
And Bullet in a Bible must be like American Idiot 0.5.
Yeah, 1.5. To bring it back to Borderlands, fucking American Idiot, the pre-sequel.
Remember when Billy Joe
That joke was funny to 3 people.
Remember when Billy Joe said that Father of All
Where were they?
was about the lifestyle of not giving a fuck? It was the life and death of the party.
Mm-hmm.
What did he mean by that? Is it like the life of the party where everyone's like, yeah, new Green Day, and then you listen to it and it's like everyone leaves?
Well, we did hypothesize that Father of All was going to be the last Green Day album for a minute there.
Well, we thought it'd be the last album on Reprise.
Remember, we all thought that they made that album as a goof?
To get out of the contract.
Because it was so bad, there was no way they were trying.
Yeah, and it was like the minimum time.
Yeah, it was like the minimum time for like an album to be an album. But then we got Saviors from Reprise Records.
Which is better.
Which is better.
And
Ralph Cavallo came back.
That he did.
Mr. Hitmaker.
But hey, Chris Dugan got his flowers. He redeemed himself as a producer.
Yeah.
Butch Vig had his moment in 21st Century. Chris Dugan now has had his moment with Unt. And Ralph Cavallo is just there.
Rob Cavallo had his several moments.
Rob Cavallo, he's done okay.
Yeah.
He's only one of the most successful producers ever.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's all.
Never forget, he also produced Kid Rock albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But he also
not
produced
everyone's
the
perfect.
Phil Collins Tarzan soundtrack songs.
Yeah, some people are pretty close to perfect.
Yeah.
No one could have known what Kid Rock was like in 2007. No way.
How could you have? All his lyrics were "ba with the ba de bang de bang diggy diggy."
Is that his song, really?
Yeah, that
I
is his
believe
song.
Huh. I never put that together.
That's why it's so terrible.
Well, is that it? Are we calling it an episode? I guess favorites, least favorites, maybe? I don't know, rank them, something?
Uh,
We can rank him.
let's see. I think Unt is definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
I think I would go reverse chronological order.
I'm gonna put Goodbye Ellston Avenue at the bottom. Then I'll put Compulsive Disclosures, because it's shorter. Because I think Jump Salty is interesting for how early it is and how different it is.
Yeah.
And then Unt, obviously, is the best.
I'm gonna agree with your ranking there, Domino.
Alright. Well, I guess that'll do it for us this time. Thank you for joining us again, Corey. I like it
Yeah,
when we go
thanks
off
for
the rails
having
and talk about whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Anytime.
This has been Minisodes from Dissonant Waves. You can see Trix and mine and Corey's information below in the description, I guess.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. Have a good night. Check out Pinhead Gunpowder.
Check him out.
Check out fucking Unt. It's a great album. Way better than
Unt's great.
Savers.
Yeah.
Savers is fine, but Unt is better.
Yeah.
Alright. Have a good time, everybody. Good night.
You too.
Later.
Night.